afternoon and welcome to Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. The headlines this afternoon. Chairman of PNC warns of dire consequences for Dr. Edward Mahama for accepting to serve in Nana Addo's government. Ghana Armed Forces to deploy personnel to clamp down on illegal mining across the country. Today is World Population Day. The focus is on the use of contraceptives to control population growth. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. Please stay. So with our stories, and President Otumfuo has charged the second batch of newly sworn-in 22 Guinean ambassadors to drive private sector investment to enhance economic transformation of the country. During a swearing-in and presentation of credentials at the Flagstaff House, the President entreated them to explore new relations to the benefit of the country.
That I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of Ghana.
The swearing-in ceremony brings to 30 the number of ambassadors so far presented credentials to represent Ghana in various countries. Among the 22 who were sworn in Monday was the 2016 PNC flag bearer Dr. Edward Mahama, who has been appointed ambassador at large. President Otumfuo charged the ambassadors to be responsible and promote the image of the country.
You have the onerous responsibility of preserving and promoting the image of a country whose reputation amongst the Committee of Nations is high. You have the responsibility to drive private sector investment into Ghana. You are the chief promoters of Ghana's commercial interests to the respective countries to which you are going.
Ambassador-designate for Canada and former Attorney General Aikwe Otu, who spoke on behalf of his colleagues, pledged to live up to expectations.
Shall justify the confidence reposed in us and shall use our most persevering endeavors to forward the interest of Ghana and bring investments to Ghana. We've also noted the threefold mission: diplomatic, ceremonial, and administrative, and the need to promote the image of Ghana at all times.
And flag bearer of the PNC in the 2016 elections and ambassador at large, Dr. Edward Mahama, says his ambassadorial appointment is a national service and has nothing to do with party affiliation. He spoke exclusively to our presidential correspondent, Nana Kwekudua, after he was presented with his credentials.
He's shown that he wants to work with everybody, and I'm also ready to work for the benefit of our country. We need to put our country first, and wherever duty calls, we should answer. So basically, I see this, that the president thinks there is something I can do for the nation because he decides the ministers, he decides the ambassadors. And so long as he has reposed this confidence in me, I will not disappoint.
It's beyond politics.
It's beyond politics.
National service.
Now it's Ghana. I'm ambassador of Ghana, not for the PNC, not for the MPP.
So after you saw that story regarding, that's the 2016 flag bearer of the PNC being appointed as ambassador at large, some concerns have come up, especially from his quarters and specifically his party. And we will be speaking to a member of his party and what action they intend to take against Dr. Mahama. But we'll go straight to our touch screen and we'll look at appointments across the political divide and the inclusion of some members from one party to the other to join some other governments. And we start with Malam Issa. He was appointed in former President John Agyekum Kufuor's government as a sports minister. We have Dr. Pakwesi Ntim, also in former President Kufuor's government, that's the first and second government, Al-Hassan Azon, that's President Mahama's government. So we'll bring you more on this very issue and matters arising regarding concerns that have come up on the appointment of Dr. Mahama. But let's go and speak to a political scientist, and I do have Eric Odrosai, and he's going to tell us his thoughts on what has happened so far. Good afternoon. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, now, this is not the first time a member of the PNC or indeed another political party has been appointed by the president from a different political orientation. And in this case, Malam Issa, I did mention Dr. Pakwesi Ntim and some others. But the PNC national chairman is threatening the expulsion of Dr. Mahama at the next Congress of the party. What do you make of this?
Thank you very much. I think it's the call by the PNC chairman is not very appropriate because in a nation that we are looking at national cohesion, in a nation that wants to make best use of its available human resource, we should give opportunities for government in power to be able to leverage on the available human resource capacity to develop the country. In fact, going forward, as a nation, we should find a way of getting the political parties to review their constitutions, to give room for qualified members of their political party to serve in government anytime there's a new government in power, whether or not they are members of that political party. By that, we'll be able to work as a unified country to promote development. But if you start threatening people, then indirectly, you are trying to say that the government in power should concentrate on only members of his party. But you know that there are lots of expertise out there that would help the government to pursue the government agenda, which will renew to the benefit of everybody in Ghana.
Now, broadly speaking, what does the appointment of Dr. Mahama as ambassador at large do for political inclusion in the Ghanaian political body?
It sends a signal of the government attempting to practice an all-inclusive government. It also sends a signal that if you are highly qualified and you have some expertise and you are prepared and able and willing to support development in Ghana, the opportunity is available. And it also helps us to also establish that our retirees, our older folk who have served in government, after all, have some role to play in promoting governance. For me, it is very motivating. For me, it helps us to also know that there is hope for the future. So I think it is good. It enhances governance. It also reduces the political tension in this country. It tells us that, look, irrespective of which political party will win elections, you have a role to play in the governance of this country. So after all, if we are going into elections, we should not fight amongst ourselves. We have a common destiny, except that the approach to achieving that particular objective differs from one party to the other. But if you really have an expertise, why not? The ruling government would make good of it.
Now, Dr. Eric Odrosai, before I let you go, you've mentioned what you think that the PNC should do and the like. But as a country, Ghana, I do have a member of the PNC, that's the chairman here in the studio. But I'd also want to find out from you, as a country, Ghana, have we really come to understand what political inclusion means?
I think so, except that we need to work on our laws. I started with that of the constitutions of the various political parties. Now, I also mentioned that there is the need for the government in power and the party members of the government in power to also create the space for such a person, if the person is included, so that it will not look as if only members of a political party would be appointed into government, whereas all the others are left out. When you do that, you lose a lot of good human resource. But once as a political party you form a government, you have at your disposal all the available human resource base of the country to be used to prosecute the government development agenda. So I think it is a conversation we should be having as a nation. It's a conversation the political parties should be having. Because if today PNC come to power and they need a particular expertise which is not available in the political party, they should be free to go outside the political party to get that particular expertise all in the interest of Mother Ghana to promote development.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Eric Ojosa. He's a governance expert, and we're looking at the appointment of Dr. Edward Mahama as ambassador at large by President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. But this afternoon, again, like I mentioned, I do have in the studio the national chairman of the People's National Convention, PNC, Bernard Mona. Good afternoon, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, Mr. Mona, what is wrong with Dr. Edward Mahama being appointed as an ambassador at large by the president?
What's the definition of the portfolio?
You haven't answered my question.
Yeah.
What is wrong with it?
I don't know what the portfolio is in its nebulous form as it is. Two, I wake up at dawn to realize that my phone is inundated with several messages from the media telling me we have received news of Dr. Edward Mahama's appointment by President Nana Akufo-Addo. Then I start saying it is not true, because it is not the case that the Dr. Edward Mahama that I know, who has criticized many others for accepting appointments without those appointments passing through the PNC as a party, will accept an appointment without the knowledge of the party. And I cited instances where Dr. Edward Mahama has told us that he refused to serve in government for our nation. For instance, he told us he declined appointment from President Rawlings and also declined to even become running mate, leading to him becoming a vice president in the year 2000. And in 2001, when President Kufuor won, he was called upon to become Minister for Health. And he again asked President Kufuor to pass the appointments or the request through the PNC, and because it was not done, he declined those appointments. When Malam Issa, that I have seen you have listed, went to accept the nomination of President Kufuor, Dr. Edward Mahama asked the PNC to disown Malam Issa because the decision to accept was without the approval of the PNC. We have sacked Thomas Atiga, our regional secretary for Ashanti region, for endorsing MPP's parliamentary candidate in the Atuasi by-election, Patricia Ajay, because it was not without a sanction. So, given this background, I had to go out there to say that Dr. Mahama would not do that kind of thing. And I started saying that, look, why is it that our brothers in the MPP are trying to throw mud in our eyes that Edward Mahama has accepted this? So what is wrong is that Dr. Mahama used a cane to whip people for a certain crime, and the cane is still at the corner, and he has gone to commit that crime. That is where, because I have gone out there to say it's not possible, only to be confronted with the truth, that indeed he has gone to the office and he's been presented with the staff of office, and he is going to work.
So for clarity's sake, he didn't make the party aware?
The party is not aware
of this designation or position that was given him.
And I think that for the beauty, I'll just listen to the doctor you spoke to, and I think that clearly, you see, if Dr. Edward Mahama had lamented and lampooned the idea that persons in the PNC have been poached, he was very bitter and angry when Dominic Nitiwulu was taken away from us in the Bimbala by-elections. He's been very livid about Ambrose Derry moving to the MPP, very livid about Professor Kasim Kansaga and many others. And then quickly, then all of a sudden,
this happens.
The head of the animal has been cut because he's the leader of the PNC.
Okay, now does the PNC as a political party and its performance throughout the general elections since 1996 have any hope of getting into government in the distant future?
Obviously, it was the reason for which Edward Mahama became flag bearer of the PNC, hoping that the people of Ghana would give him the mandate to lead. And so if the people of Ghana did not give him the mandate, it doesn't mean that we did not have hope of winning. And I'm sure that possibly after the wobbling performance of the NPP now, after they lampooned the NDC, we have seen that they are no different from the NDC. They are pursuing the same policies that are impoverishing a mass of our people and making unemployment a chunk of our social life. So to that extent, the PNC has hope. It's just that I think that maybe this situation could have been handled better. if the party was informed, just in line with the thinking of Edward Mahama, that over the years, our party has been given a raw deal, and therefore these other individuals should have been. Let me say that in the case of Alhassan Azong, which you have put there, the party took a decision to commit Alhassan Azong to the then NDC.
All right.
So you cannot say that the party supported the cause for Alhassan Azong to sit with the NDC in parliament and also for the negotiation to be appointed a minister. Okay. That is the difference between what Alhassan Azong did and what is happening today.
Now, are you a believer of an all-inclusive government?
All-inclusive
government?
Yes or
no?
Yes, a believer of all-inclusive government only to the extent that our policy and principles are the same. Right. I cannot see an all-inclusive government. That means that a capitalist-oriented political party will come and take a socialist-oriented political party.
If I stand to be corrected, but you served on a board during President Mahama's tenure.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. Which board?
That never happened.
I never served on any board.
So what next?
I think that maybe the party will organize a meeting to provide Edward Mahama an opportunity to possibly clarify to us what has changed. That under Rawlings he could not serve Ghana, under Kufuor he could not serve Ghana, in spite of the fact that he was offered many chances. And under Nana Akufo-Addo, he's taking ambassador of atLarge.
All right, well, thank you so much. I have been speaking to Bernard Mona. He's the chairman PNC. We're looking at the appointment of Dr. Mahama being given the position of ambassadorial role, that's ambassador atLarge, and what's happening next. You're still watching Midday Live.
Am I liberated?
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
A news anchor with style
and professionalism
must be someone you can trust, someone you can relate to,
someone you can bond with, and with real experience.
That is who we are.
That is who we are.
That's who we are. That's who we are.
Everything you need to know. Captivating. Reliable. Credible and breaking news. All at your fingertips.
Who's found Asamoah Gyan? Super finish!
Being on top of the news has never been easy. Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
There are lots of amazing stories out there. What we do on News 360 is to bring to you the most compelling news by teasing out the right pieces that bring the stories to life. My job is to present to you the news in the most gripping manner and asking the critical questions that bring out the needed detail out of the stories. My name is Alfred Okansi. Join me on News 360, Monday through to Friday, 7 p.m. on air and online only on TV3.
Watch New Day every weekday at 6 a.m. New Day is brought to you by Givers Capsules and Vodafone, power to you.
Weekends are a bit like several hour days put into one for our sport-loving fans. Several top matches, top-level competitions, various sporting disciplines that have been from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on TV3 and 3FM. For more juicy information on your sports personalities and what they'll be doing when they're not kicking for fame and glory.
Warm Up shows every Saturday at 10 a.m. Make a date on TV3 and is brought to you by
MTN. Everywhere you go. Solak Herbal Mixture.
Thanks for staying. President Otumfuo says he's prepared to put his presidency on the line to ensure the end of galamsey, speaking at a sensitization workshop on illegal mining for traditional leaders. The president charged them to play a key role in bringing the menace to an end.
The heritage, the inheritance that our fathers and our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers bequeathed to us, especially the space, the Ghanaian space, which we all occupy. We have a duty to preserve it for those who are coming after us. And if our river bodies are drying up, our landscape is being desecrated, we here, leaders of our society, leaders of our nation, political leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, we have a responsibility to say no. This, we cannot allow it to go on for our own common survival and the survival of those who are to come. If you, the chiefs of our country, are not involved, it doesn't happen. So the reason why you've been brought here today is for us to have the opportunity to share with you our thoughts, our strategy, our thinking, and then to ask of you, in the name of the generations yet unborn, for your support and active involvement to bring this menace of galamsey to an end. Thank you very much indeed.
All right, so this afternoon I have been joined via Skype. We'll be speaking to Ken Ashby, the leader of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Good afternoon, Ken, and thanks for agreeing to speak with us.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, the president, in a soundbite we just played, has reiterated his commitment to deal with galamsey during his term of office. And how assuring is that, knowing that in some cases these perpetrators sometimes do have genuine licenses from the Mineral Commission?
Well, I think that the president has demonstrated political courage. This is not the first time he's said this, but in this particular case, he's saying it in the presence of our chiefs, who are also a critical part of the leadership that is required to be able to deal with this. It puts to rest the noise by the political blackmailers who would want to use political partisanship to blackmail leaders so that they can perpetuate evil. And I think it's really reassuring to us in the steering committee of the Media Coalition. We say that this is very good, and this is what we expect of our leaders. And definitely with what he has said and the commitment of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the rest of other ministers, we hope that all the actors who have to act to ensure that we root out the canker of galamsey are dealt with. And I also think it's interesting that he said it in the presence of the chiefs, because yes, they are really a critical part of this battle. But we also know that some of them have been part of the problem. We've had chiefs who we've had are complicit in the galamsey menace. And for even some of them, if they are not complicit, then they are incompetent, because way around their palaces and all of that, you see galamsey happening. But there are examples of some chiefs who would say that galamsey will not happen in my community, and it has not happened. So I'm hoping that the chiefs haven't heard from the first gentleman of the land would also give their commitment, and they would police their other members, other chiefs, their other colleagues who are not playing ball, so that we all together with the media would be able to sustain this war against galamsey and win it.
Now, and talking about the actors playing their critical role, advocacy is one sure way of fighting such illegalities. But at which point would you say pledges have become a mere rhetoric?
The line is quite faint. I can't hear
Can you hear me?
I'll strain and try.
Okay, so let me go back again and mention that.
I can hear you now.
Okay, you spoke about actors playing their critical role, and for some persons, it's just a mere rhetoric. People come and talk, and nothing happens. The president has also added his voice time without number, and at this time, he's putting his job on the line. For you, when should we?
And when the steering committee of the media coalition met the president, he definitely spoke about the fact that the plans that had been put in place. Extra districts have been, mining districts have been set up, a few resources have been provided for the people who are working in these areas. And then a critical part of all of this was the security task force that were going to be on the ground for a year. And I think that with the death of those people at Ntim and Christia, it is time for the president, who is the commander-in-chief, to let the security task force come, so that the recalcitrant ones who are still in the pit mining, who are on the river bodies mining, some of whom, like if you go to Sefiamanyo, the only way you can reach them is by helicopter. We are able to get the force of the state to arrest these people, ensure that once they are arrested, the police and then the state prosecutors will ensure that in the courts that have been set up by the former CJ, the speedy trial and justice is served to serve as a deterrent to the rest of the people. We need at this stage to also start seeing the reclamation of the lands and the rehabilitation of our water bodies. And the ministry have told us that when they start doing this, it will serve as an alternative livelihood for our unfortunate brothers and sisters who find themselves within this. Then also, the ministry is supposed to have started some training for small-scale miners in sustainable mining. It's important that that happens, so that, yes, if we have to mine, we mine in a sustainable manner. And I'm of the firm belief that the mining that would impact more on Ghanaians is more the one that indigenous people do, the one that the small-scale miners would do, more than the large-scale miners, where all that we see is, most of it is owned by foreigners. So we need to have a way in which we engage Ghanaians to mine, be able to provide them with the resources, the engineering resources, the human resources that enable them to be properly mined, ensure that when they mine, we have a marketing company that will purchase this, pay for the prospecting that is done, pay for those who have done the mining, pay for the reclamation of the land, pay royalties to achieve, pay the taxes, and then we should go on to value addition. It's not good enough that we just mine, process it into the raw gold and just export it.
Thank you so much, Ken Asiedu-Dartey. He is a leading member of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. You're still watching Midday Live, and according to the United Nations Population Fund, over 200 million women in developing countries who want to avoid pregnancy are not using safe and effective family planning methods. As Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark Population Day, Portia Gabo has been finding out why 16 years after introduction in Ghana, the patronage of female condom remains extremely low.
According to the United Nations Population Fund, some 225 million women and girls who want to avoid pregnancy do not use safe and effective family planning methods for reasons ranging from lack of access to information, cultural barriers, and lack of support from their partners and communities.
Today we are going to talk about the female condom.
In May 2000, the female condom was introduced in Ghana as a means to empower women to protect themselves against sexually transmitted infections and unwanted pregnancies. However, the difficulty in inserting the female condom, fear of it bursting and getting stuck in the womb, and cultural barriers led to low patronage by Ghanaian women. This prompted its relaunch by the Ghana Health Service and its partners in 2012. Despite the intervention, patronage is still low.
I have a girlfriend. She herself don't like the female condom. Why? I don't know. She always asks me to wear mine. But when I asked her to wear, she said she doesn't like.
Experienced it once, but it's okay with me. It's the same thing as the male condom that we use, but just that this one is bigger than theirs because we have a big and precious body. That's why the reason why we have female condoms that we used.
Me used to be that. Me who the way I'm in.
I've not used the female condom before, and I just don't like it. A visit to many shops and pharmacies in Ghana show patronage has hit a record low compared to male condoms. Despite the female condom being one of the best family planning methods in Ghana, its patronage among women is very low. As a result, most pharmacy shops are instead stocked with a male condom.
Well, at the moment we don't have, but previously we've even had free samples in stock and the patronage was very low. So because of that, we eventually just stopped stocking it. Generally, most ladies prefer to have their men rather wear the condom because the female ones looks a bit cumbersome, so they are not comfortable in using it.
It appears society has not come to terms with women buying condoms.
It is not easy, actually. And most women, even when they take it home, sometimes their husbands have a lot of things to say about it. And that sometimes they even think their wives are promiscuous and so on. What we can do is their education. We keep educating women.
There are females who don't want to use it. And as for the men, they don't even want to hear about it. So I think we should rather be a bit more abrasive and aggressive in our way of addressing these female condom issues.
Family health advocates are hopeful of change to enable women make bold and informed choices on their reproductive health. Poshigabo, TV3.
And like I mentioned early on, and you saw in that story, this year's World Population Day is on the theme, family planning, healthy people for sustainable national development. And the UNFPA says many of those with an unmet demand for contraceptives live in the poorest countries on earth. Joining me this afternoon in the studio to discuss the World Population Day is David Combat, Director in charge of Population Censuses and Director, Communication and Dissemination, Ghana Statistical Service. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for your time. Now, off-camera, you're telling me about the current population, which is 28.9 million for Ghana.
Yes.
Now, is our population growth commensurate with our developmental planning?
I would say no. You can see that we have a lot of young people who are clamoring for jobs. You see demonstrations here and there about I've finished school, I have no job. Nurses, veterinary technicians are all over demonstrating they want jobs. And you can see that there's a need for us to look at, as a country, the population, dynamics and see how we can plan, to have a happy people.
Now, with your experience and your point of view, you're talking about planning.
Yes.
How best do we go about this?
If you look at the world, as a people who want to be happy, if you look at the happiness index, Norway ranks highest, and there are other countries that follow. Such countries, there's high, contraceptive prevalence rates, high use, so the unmet need for family planning is low for such countries. So if we want to be happy as a people, we may have to look.
I was going to ask you that question, like some countries we know implemented.
Yes.
Now, we just saw a story where my colleague Portia did a bit on female contraceptives, knowing that this year is on the theme family planning and contraceptive use, and you've also added your voice to it.
Okay.
Can we get there?
It needs commitment and education. Let's get our people sensitized on, the importance of this, and let us, as a country, begin to take it serious. Today is the World Population Day. How many people know what is the theme for the World Population Day, and so on. So we need to sensitize people. If you look at the poverty in Ghana, the poor areas are actually where there are large family sizes. The 3 northern regions, for example, fertility is very high, and so if you rank also in terms of poverty, you realize that they are up. So there's a need, to sensitize the people on the importance of trying to look at their family sizes.
All right. Now, before I let you go, when will Ghana hold its next census?
The next census,
are there new dynamics to it?
The next census will be held in 2020. All things being equal, you need a lot of resources to be able to do a census, a large-scale statistical operation. And so the next census, we are planning to have it in 2010, provided we have the 2020, provided we have the needed resources. But for now, we continue to depend on estimates. The 2010 census gave us a figure of 24.6 million. And so we have done estimations.
Let's go on the phone line and speak to Prof. Frank Nyami. He's a geologist. Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, fine afternoon.
And thanks for agreeing to speak to us this afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you for your time. Now, can decayed bodies lead to the formation of gold as being propagated by the people of Pristia and Suta?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Now, I'm asking this afternoon if decayed bodies can lead to the formation of gold, as being said by people of Pristia and Suta.
Scientifically and as a geologist, I don't think so.
So how do we deal with such an assertion, and what do we do about this problem? Because that is what they believe. They think that it is a good omen.
What we have is there are various belief systems and practices, that are associated with gold in particular, and then also minerals, and for that matter, mineral deposits in general. So wherever you go, depending on the society involved, they may have their own belief systems. And sometimes some of these things feed into the various activities that may be undertaken by the people. But scientifically, there is no proven report or record of decayed bodies more or less improving your chance of getting gold in any area.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Frank Nyami, for that clarity. He is a geologist at the Department of Earth Science, University of Ghana. This is Midday Live.
Every story, there's a deeper meaning, a host of angles, which, when reported with the highest ethics of journalism, bring out the perspectives that matters most to you. That's what News 360 is all about. I seek to climb higher, dig deeper, and go further to bring you 360 degrees of the news and what happens thereafter. I'm Natalie Fort. Join me on News 360 every weekday at 7 p.m.
According to them, this is the second time that this has happened to people who live here. But for how long can they continue to endure flooding in these areas?
To make sure that Accra becomes the cleanest city.
Trials on idea and then, of course, attack on public officers. I have no idea as to what
we get it to you first. This is TV3 News. Log on to www.3news.com for more news and updates of our major stories. Join us on Facebook 3 News GH for live streaming and comments on our page. Like and follow us on Twitter at 3 News GH and at 3 Sports GH. Like our pictures on Instagram, TV3 Network. If you missed our live shows, watch a playback on YouTube, TV3 GH. TV3, first in news, best in entertainment.
On Spotlight, you're assured of quality entertainment.
You take us to prison,
Exciting and trending social media stories fused with most topical entertainment issues.
Does medical qualify to be assistant here?
They're trying to push thou shalt, they don't materialize.
Spot on information and education.
Persons with autism are not cursed.
The freshest music videos.
Spotlight shows every Saturday at 4 p.m. only on TV3. Don't miss it.
Brought to you by
Time for business, and a renowned Korean economist, Dr. Hodgins Chan, says developing countries are struggling to develop because they have soft technology drive. Interacting with the media in Accra, Dr. Chan emphasized on the need for the establishment of industries by developing countries that will lead to economic growth.
Arguments have come up for protecting local producers and industries. These include protecting domestic employment, the economy from low-cost labor and infant industries. This argument has been countered by proponents of free trade. This is where goods are able to move freely between countries. At an Institute of Economic Affairs interaction with the media, a renowned economist and director of the Center of Development Studies, University of Cambridge, Dr. Hodgins Chan, stressed most African countries are struggling to develop because technology is not the focus in the development drive. He says developing countries need to focus more on a particular direction of growth and get citizens to buy into the policy.
So for one thing, you neglected export. You need to have a good export capability in order to develop. Why? Because by definition, as a developing country, you need to import technologies to be able to develop. The reason why you are poor is because your technology sucks. And you need to get better technologies in the forms of machines, technology licensing, whatever. And in order to do that, you need foreign exchanges. Foreign aid can cover some of it, but basically you have to earn this money.
He mentioned the respect for time as an important component for development. He reveals it was a challenge for Korea during its takeoff stages.
Economic development, time becomes more valuable, because the material goods you have become more and more, but time is fixed, only 24 hours in a day. So people begin to value time more. So today in Korea, the expression Korean time doesn't even exist. Everyone keeps time.
Former Shraj boss Emil Short was emphatic on the reasons most of these suggestions are not being implemented.
The question is having, in this country, agreement among our political leaders, because they seem not to agree on anything. That is one of our biggest problems. Politics is dividing us, has caused us to be so polarized that we find it difficult to make headway.
Dr. Hodgins Chan is in the country on the invitation of the IEA to talk on examining policies that determine a country's development prospects, shedding light on the argument that policies which promote economic development are not necessarily good policies of free market and free trade, but bad policies of protectionism.
Further business stories. The Ghana Institute of Architects is considering providing an alternative means of shelter for all Ghanaians as a means of bridging the housing deficits. The Institute, at an upcoming conference, seeks to confer in all sectors to bring forth creative and workable solutions that will address the housing and economic development crisis in Ghana. We'll bring you that story in a subsequent bulletins. That'll be all for business. And officials of Black Star Film Festival are looking at exposing local filmmakers, actors and actresses to roles in international movies. This is expected to achieve results through networking at the event, which is slated to happen in Accra.
Between August 18 and 21 will provide African filmmakers the opportunity to share their experiences with an international audience. The Black Star International Film Festival 2017, which was launched in February this year, will engage filmmakers from across the globe in panel sessions, networking opportunities and film screening over 4 days. The film festival received submissions from over 70 countries and will screen 40 films. The executive director of the film festival, Juliet Asante, says the event will expose filmmakers to grappling roles in international movies.
Last year, a lot of people coming from outside of Ghana really wanted to experience Ghana, and they didn't have so much opportunity. We've introduced the talent market, which is a high-level networking for industry professionals across the globe.
She called on government to help cushion the film industry. This year's event will focus on the business of film and will celebrate filmmakers within the African context. The theme for this year's event is For the Young at Heart.
And members of the world-renowned live band Osibisa have challenged musicians to invest in their future at the peak of their career. The group wants a new crop of Ghanaian musicians to make live band performances an active part of their career.
Legendary high life band Osibisa argued it is needless for the Musicians Union of Ghana, Musica, to establish a fund to support aging musicians. Founding member of the group, 69-year-old Wendell Richardson, asserted that musicians should secure their future when active in the music business.
I don't really believe in societies that collect money and say they're going to do things. You don't always get what is yours.
Wendell explained new genres were necessary to give a twist to the Ghanaian high life and also help Ghanaian music go international. On live band music, chief drummer of the group, Soul Amafio, said it remains relevant despite the influx of foreign genres on the Ghanaian market.
It's not fading out because that's where we started from until the Europeans came with recordings. Now that technology has gone very far and we have to do what we do.
The group, currently made up of 4 members, intends to recruit and train young, talented Ghanaians.
All right, so that'll be all for entertainment and that'll be all for this afternoon. But a quick run through our headlines for this afternoon. And Chairman of PNC warns of dire consequences for Dr. Edward Mahama for accepting to serve in Nana Addo's government. So we saw Ghana forces to deploy personnel to clamp down on illegal mining across the country. And today marks World Population Day. And we looked at the focus, which is on the use of contraceptives to control population growth. My name is Wendy Lai. Thank you so much for watching. Do have a blessed afternoon.